Hi everyone, it's Lucinda from the Bee's Knees. It's a beautiful sunny day here and I thought it would be fun to do some baking. Everybody seemed to really enjoy my video on how easy it was to make sausage rolls, and I know a few people tried it, which is great. And whenever we post a picture of a Victoria sandwich with plates or mugs or products to show off what we sell, people always want the recipe and don't seem to find one, so I thought it would be great to show you how easy it also is to make a Victoria sandwich. A little more complicated than sausage rolls, but really not that difficult. I'm using a recipe from the Great British Bake Off. This is a great baking book which you can get on Amazon, and I'm using their Victoria sandwich cake recipe. So I learned to make a Victoria sandwich with my mum and my grandmother, and they would just whip these up every week, easy peasy, because they're so simple and it's just a staple in British households. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So a Victoria sandwich cake is easy to make. It's essentially 4 ingredients: butter, sugar, flour and eggs. And as my mum always used to say, her cake was 6, 6, 6 and 3, which was 6 ounces of butter, 6 ounces of sugar and 6 ounces of flour and 3 eggs. Some do 4, 4, but it's usually an equal quantity of flour, sugar and eggs, which makes it easy. So I'm just gonna, I take from the butter that I used here, I've got the sheet of the paper just to butter the tin, and I cut a circle of greaseproof paper or parchment paper, and the tin is ready to go. I'm just going to use 1 tin and then slice the cake. You can do it in 2 tins too, but I like the rise better when I use just 1 tin. Now, most of English recipes do require you to weigh ingredients, but I will try and do a conversion for cups. But if you do like baking, these digital scales are just fantastic, because basically I need to 180 grams, because all the new books are in grams. Really enjoy baking. I do recommend getting a digital scale. They're really great. I know professional bakers use them, and you can put any container on. So I've set it at grams because of course all the new cookbooks are now grams. When I still lived in England, everything was still ounces. So I need 180 grams, and it's really accurate, the scale. So baking is more of a science than just cook it. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to get my 180 grams. Well, 181, that'll do. So we're going to put into just a mixer. You can do it with a hand mixer, but if you have one of these stand mixers, it's better. So 180 grams of butter, which is about 6 ounces, and 180 grams of sugar. And we're going to whisk those up together till they're light and creamy. Okay, so the butter and sugar are whisked till they're light and fluffy and nice and light, so they're ready to go. I should point out that a lot of English recipes also call for castor sugar, which is superfine sugar, and I do have this that, well, actually my good friend Trish got me at Costco. You can use regular granulated sugar if you need to. I think this just makes for a bit of a finer cake, but castor sugar, if you see that in a recipe, is superfine sugar. Now I have my 3 eggs in this bowl. I'm going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla essence, which at the moment is very expensive because there seems to be a shortage of vanilla coming from Madagascar. So we're going to just whisk this up just lightly, and then this will get added gradually to the butter mixture. I'm just going to stop and scrape down the sides so that it all gets mixed in. Oh, sorry, camera there. As I say, I'm not a professional chef. I'm just sharing my fun kitchen tricks. Whoops. So I'm going to add the rest, a little bit at a time. You don't need to whip it too strongly at this point. And the eggs should also be at room temperature when you're using them, and then they don't curdle quite so easily. And the recipe does say, for the last 2 additions, to stop the eggs and the butter and that separating, you can add a little bit of flour with the last 2 additions. So I'm going to get this addition in. And I'm just going to scrape down the sides again to get it all in. And with the last two additions, I'm going to add a tablespoonful of flour because it said you don't want it to separate out, which doesn't often happen, but it can, so we'll do what the experts say. Whoops. Flour in. Okay, and now the last addition of eggs, and I'll put another tablespoon of flour in just to be on the safe side, and we'll give this a nice mix up. So what I should also point out at this point is that I'm using self-raising flour, which you've seen on the video. I picked this up at the local British store, and I think you can find it online, but I'm going to test with King Arthur self-raising flour soon. But if you can't get this, you can use all-purpose flour and use about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and your cake should rise nicely. But I will put that in the text to go with the video. Alright, so this is good. I'm going to push it, scrape it all down again. It's ready to go. So now I'm going to I'm done with the mixer for this bit. Scrape this off. My cameraman son says he can't wait to lick it. So that will be his reward for helping me. With the video will be he gets to lick the bowl. Okay, so now we're nearly done. All we have to do is take a sieve, and this self-raising flour, it seems to be very fine, but especially if you've got flour and baking powder mixed, if you've used the all-purpose flour and baking powder, mix those together in the bowl and then sieve them in so it's nice and light. And then this gets folded in. Just one second. I boiled the kettle a little earlier, and I'm just going to do a tablespoon of warm water as well, just to make it a little bit looser. And this then just gets folded in to the cake mixture. Like that, and just cut through the middle, fold it in. So you've got these 4 ingredients: eggs, sugar, flour and butter, and baking powder if you need to use that instead of self-raising flour. But I'm going to do a bit more research on the whole self-raising flour thing, and I will add that in the text. But that is your Victoria sandwich cake mixture. Just making sure I've got all the flour mixed in. And there we go. It's quite thick, but that's okay, that's how it should be. And if you feel it is a little too dry, you could always add a drop more water. And now, so here's the mixture. As you can see, it's quite thick, but that's how it should be. And I'm just going to put it into my cake tin like this. This isn't easy with the camera there. But that's how easy it is. You cream your butter and sugar, you add your eggs and vanilla, and fold in your flour. It's really, and the more you make it, the easier it gets. So we've got the cake in, make sure we've got it all out of the tin.
Not too much of it though.
Not too much of it though, the cameraman says, because he likes to lick the tin out. They were farm fresh eggs, so I think it's safe for him to have it. He's a big boy now. So just spread it out evenly. It doesn't have to be super even, it should rise. Hopefully nicely with the whip top and everything. So there we go. Just get it into the edges. Smooth out the top a bit. And that is ready for the oven. So really not very difficult. The oven's at 350 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to put it in here in the middle of the oven for about 25 minutes, and we'll see how it does. So while your cake's baking, you can make the filling. The classic filling is really buttercream, I think. Some people do use whipped cream, but or in our family, we like just a simple buttercream frosting. So it's another 65 grams of softened butter, unsalted butter, and just some icing sugar, or confectioner's sugar as it's known here in the US, but it's the same thing, no difference here, and vanilla essence again, and I've got a couple of tablespoons of milk. So first of all, we're just going to whip up the butter till it's nice and light. Probably good now. I mean, this is how simple this piece is to make. I'm just going to quickly lift it all out so I can sieve the icing sugar or confectioner's sugar into the bowl. So really, for a delicious traditional English cake as a Victoria sandwich, it's really not difficult, and you can just so taste the difference over store-bought cakes. And it just doesn't take really more than an hour to put the whole thing together. Once you've cooked the cake, made the filling, and it cools down and you fill it. So it's definitely worth giving it a shot. I'm just going to grab this spoon, get these last bits through. To get it all in, that was 200 grams. It was 65 grams of butter and 200 grams of the icing sugar. But as I said, I can put all this in the notes that go with the video. 2 tablespoons of milk and half a teaspoon of vanilla essence. So not too vanilla-y, but just enough to flavour. And then that just slowly, so we'll be careful not to send the icing sugar everywhere initially, and you'll be surprised, it doesn't seem much butter for that much icing sugar, but it'll all come together nicely. And that's your buttercream frosting made, and that'll go in the middle with some jam. We love raspberry. I'll just stop and scrape down the bowl a little bit. So you just whisk those up together until it's smooth and thick, which looks fine. It is warm today, so I'm going to put this in the fridge while the cake bakes and cools, because it is a bit soft, but that's ready to fill the cake. So we'll be back. So that was about 26 minutes, and it looks like it's done, and you can tell if you just hit it and it pops back up, and you can see it's pulled away from the sides of the tin a little bit, and if I just stick a toothpick in, it comes out with just a little crumbs on. So the cake is done. So now we're gonna take it out of the oven, and we have to get it out of the tin. The cake is now cold, completely cold. Don't try and slice it too soon, otherwise it might fall apart. So then, just to finish the Victoria sandwich, you saw how easy it was to make. We've got the cake, we've got the buttercream that had been in the fridge for a bit because it's hot, so I just wanted to firm it up a bit, and some raspberry jam. So here we go, this is the tricky bit. So you can either do it like this or make 2 cakes, but somehow I think they come out better like this. Let's hope this works this time. I think so, there we go. So we'll put the base on the plate, the lovely Emma Bridgewater wallflower plate, and we'll put the jam on the bottom. So I've got some butter in there. Not too much, a nice, but a good layer all over the base of the cake. And spread it out. You don't want it to overwhelm, but you do want the nice raspberry flavour. As I think I said before, some people put whipped cream and fresh berries in, but this is kind of the classic, is the buttercream and the jam. I'll just spread it around. Okay, whoops. I want it to look pretty. And now, again, the tricky bit. We'll turn the top over. Looks like it came out nicely. And we'll spread the buttercream on here. There we go. Nice thick layer. So if it's too soft, if it's hot, then just put it in the fridge for a little bit. And then it'll just, you don't want it to be kind of falling off the cake. Most people like lots of buttercream. Put it on. If you don't want to use it all, that's okay. You don't like it too sweet. Spread that around like that. A little bit on this edge here, but then I think we're good. I want it to show on the edges. One more little bit. There we go. Spread it around so it comes, so you can see it at the edges. And now for this bit. This is the fun part. There you go. Even if you've made 2 cakes, you still have to do that tricky bit. And now the final touch, because the inside's nice and sweet, you don't need much on the top. So I've got this fun little sieve and some more icing sugar or confectioner's sugar, and just do a nice dusting all over. And there you have it, the Victoria sponge. So all it needs now is a cup of tea to go with it. And now for the test. I'm not sure what Paul Hollywood would say, but we've got a beautiful piece of Victoria sandwich, the jam and the cream layer, and a cup of tea to go with it. What could be better? It's good. Nice cup of tea. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a go. Let us know if you make a cake. And it's easy but delicious and well worth it. Thanks for watching. Bye.